nations, India and the US, now have a trade deal. Can you give us a little more details on how this was achieved and how this was arrived at?
Yes, thank you for having me on tonight. Look, all the credit goes to President Trump and Prime Minister Modi. Since I arrived in India about a month ago, I have said, and I truly mean it, that the two leaders have a great personal relationship. And that is something that carried this deal forward. The potential between India and the United States is limitless. And so I'm thrilled that India is getting this 18%, which is a massive drop from the previous number. We have incredible deals ahead. And so, as I've said, since I've arrived here, the best is yet to come.
So, Ambassador, if you could clarify for our viewers, India was paying 25% reciprocal tariffs and 25% Russian oil tariffs. The second set of Russian oil tariffs are now removed, so India just pays 18% tariffs. Is that the final rate?
That is correct. As you saw in the truth that the president wrote, part of the agreement is that all nations around the world stop buying oil from Russia in order to bring peace to the situation. And I know the Prime Minister deeply cares about bringing peace in that conflict, as does President Trump. So the number, as it gets finalized, will be that 18%.
What about on the question of the other assurances which President Trump has mentioned in his post that the Indian Prime Minister reportedly made to him? Could you walk us through that, please?
I will leave that to the trade negotiators. As you know, ambassadors don't necessarily have in their portfolio the trade deal. But overall, this is incredible news. 18%. There's a lot of demand. Look, the United States is open for business under President Trump. It's a new era. And frankly, from the start, we've said the president has a great relationship with the prime minister. A lot of people did not believe that. He truly does have a great relationship with the prime minister. And this is why this happened. Under President Trump's leadership, we have renegotiated deals all over the world. So this was not anything specific to one country or another. However, I will say that this trade deal is more favorable because of their relationship.
All right, Ambassador Gor, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. So Ambassador Sergio Gor, who played a pivotal role in mediating this trade agreement, has now confirmed to CNN News 18 that India will have to pay just 18%. Earlier, it was 25 plus 25, 50%, 25% reciprocal and 25% Russian oil tariffs. That now gets removed. It's down to just 18%. So effectively, India is now somewhere between the EU, South Korea, and Japan, which is at 15%, and the rest of the neighbors in this region, Pakistan at 19%, I think Sri Lanka at 20%, Vietnam at 20%, so on and so forth. So India has got 18%, which is somewhere between these two blocks of nations. And understandably, Ambassador Gor did not want to go into the details of what other assurances India has made in terms of purchasing American energy, American technology, etc. Those are there in President Trump's tweets. And of course, you will get further details both from the Indian negotiating team as well as from the US negotiating team. But I think the big confirmation, the big headline that Ambassador Gor has just given us is that India will now pay just 18% reciprocal tariff and not the 50% as it was earlier.
Right. And Zaka, as Sergio Gor, he didn't go into the details about the other commitments that we can see in Trump's Truth Social post. Do you see that just as political icing over this breakthrough between the two sides of reducing the tariffs from 25 to 18%?
Look, like I said, I think the big headline as far as India is concerned is the fact that we just now have to pay 18% tariffs. That's a huge relief compared to the 50% that we were paying earlier, 25% reciprocal and 25% Russian oil tariffs. I think the fact that we have managed to reduce that through sustained period of negotiations. Remember, the negotiating teams have been speaking for multiple rounds now. I think 6 rounds of talks had already happened. The last one happened in December when I think the US Deputy Trade Representative had come down to India. So I think it's very clear that all of those negotiations have finally sort of paved the way for this 18% tariff to be arrived at, this tariff figure to be arrived at. That's
right. I want to get Ambassador Prabhu Dayal on this. Ambassador Dayal, how do you see these developments coming in? Because it seems that the negotiators have succeeded in getting that tariff from 25% down to 18%. But do you think the MEA, in its reaction to Trump's Truth Social post, will have to navigate through these other commitments that Trump has claimed he has got from India? It seems that we will be in that position to kind of navigate that entire language, because it was the same thing when Trump claimed that he broached the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. The MEA had to be very careful with its language. But how do you see the MEA's reaction to this?